Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds. It's Shin and the Crazy Geek Kraft, and this is part 2 of my big card for fall. And if you haven't seen part 1, I would recommend you go see it. This card is inspired by this lovely woman, Calcott. If you don't know her, go check her out later. Everything is in the description, everything I've used up until now and everything I will be using onwards. I will only show you the new things I add on to the card. If you haven't seen part 1, then you might be missing out on some information, but everything will be in the description, it always is. Now, I am cutting this piece of Gummiapan paper with some sticky adhesive that is die cut friendly with these numbers from Lönnlöv. And there's a special reason, because I want to try something new. I'm very inspired by all this foiling going on everywhere, but I really don't want to buy a new machine. So I found out there are some kinds of foil that you can use with other mediums where you didn't need to go out and buy a whole new system that will take up even more space on my desk that I don't have enough of already. So these will work with the sticky adhesive, like the one I put on these die cuts on the upside. And of course, for it to work, you need to peel off the backing of the tape, which I forgot. But I bought it in copper for this project specifically. And here I'm trying to press it on. Yeah, silly me. Take off the backing. And then it will stick to the number. Have to make sure to press it in everywhere, all the way around. And I'll do it for the 9 as well. And it actually worked out quite fine. It easily gets dented. That's a downside. I don't know if the heat foiling will do that, but this worked out for me. I wanted something to go with the fall colors. So I picked copper. I will also be using it later. I think is it the next video? Yeah, in the next video I'll be using more of this foil in a different way. So I'm trying to figure out how to decorate this wood round with the 90 on it, because it is going to be the focal point of the card. It's going to be in the center of the middle of the card. So that's a lot of trial and error, and I am taking out my 6 here because I found out that I need something to shade everything with, and I would actually prefer to work with something water-based when I also have distress ink in the works. I don't use my 6 too often because they have a tendency to fade in sunlight, especially the red colors. I once made a card with a lot of pink on it, and it sat on my table till the next day when I came back in the afternoon. All the purple things were no longer pink things. All the pink things were no longer pink. It was very frustrating because I thought I'd noticed it earlier that something was going on with the colors, but there I was dead certain because I had colored in a unicorn and I colored the mane and the tail really pink, and there was almost no color left on it. It was so annoying. I had to write to the recipient of the card that they should not put it anywhere where the sun would get it, because the colors would fade. At this point I didn't have any alternatives, and that was also why I started to branch out into alcohol markers. I hadn't wanted to start on Copics because I thought it was really, really expensive. It's not that Shin are that much cheaper, but I'd say for every free Shin markers you can get 2 Copics. So I'm a bit up in that, but there are less colors, and there are some colors that I really need to buy in Copic to be able to make very light colors. When people color snow and stuff, I am always jealous of those very subtle markers. They don't exist in Shin unless it is cold gray or warm gray. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with them. And you can interchange them with the Copics or with pro markers. Anything that's alcohol based, you should actually be able to use those markers together. And there's a little story on my 6. I love my 6. I love working with them, but unfortunately they fade too quick. But on this card, I'm using browns, and I'm hoping they won't fade as badly. Hoping. Because this card is made to be displayed, so here's to hoping. Now that the centerpiece is done, I'm just looking if it fits. Luckily it did. I'm going to need to cut all the panels, the decorative panels for this card, because I have to glue them inside before I can decorate the rest of the card, but I need to put in the wood round before I can glue in the... Yeah, it's a whole thing. But first, let's make some tests. Some calculations, and then I'll make some test pieces to see if they fit my card before I cut the one piece of pattern paper I've chosen for this. I only bought one. I only need one if I cut it right. So I'm just making some calculations on what I need and some notes on remembering that this one has to be mirrored and stuff like that. And that I need 4 panels, 1 for the front of the card, 2 for the inside, and 1 for the back. Those things I tend to forget sometimes, so I always write it down how many pieces I need. This first piece fits, but I really don't need a template for it. I just need to check that my calculations were right. And now I can try and make the C shape that's going on the inside. That one is where the template is far more important. And since this is a template, I can just draw the lines however I want. It won't be important for this piece. I'm always happy when something works out in the first try, because that means I'm not as stupid as I sometimes feel. These days, I feel inadequate in many aspects. But at least these 2 templates turned out right at the first try. So I'm just going to keep them. It will make it easier for me to do it on the pattern paper, make sure I have enough left over when I have the templates. It wasn't exactly necessary for the smaller pieces, but it was a nice thing to have the template for those. I will of course need it for the C pieces. First I am cutting the bigger pieces to go on the front and the back and on the inside. This one says happy. Something, I can't remember what it says besides happy, but it says something with happy, so that's going on the front. And then there's a piece here that says you are my sunshine. It is going on the back side. And then I need some plain pieces where I can put decorations on the inside. That was 1. So I still need 1 whole piece, the 2 C's, and 4 small pieces. So I'm drawing out my C here, and then I'm trying to utilize as much paper as possible. And this is just barely fits. It's fantastic that I don't have that much choice. And this one fits twice inside, but I decided to just cut out the C's and then cut the other parts afterwards. And this is the moment of truth, and it actually fits. It's so nice. So now I'm ready to make the mechanism that goes in the center to make the wood round stand straight, even though it is on a angled piece. And Sam uses these a lot, and I think it's ingenious. Where you score so that you can fold it like this. I should have held it up for you. Sorry about that. The front piece is where you put the wood round, and then the 2 loose pieces in the back. They glue to the sides of the corner you want to glue this element onto. I think it's so cool. Unfortunately, I also found out it was quite hard to position it, because of the way you have to hold, have your fingers everywhere to to press it down. But I did it, and it's ingenious. It is a bit hard to close. You need a bit of finessing, but then again, this card is made to, when you open it, it should stay open. So, but I'm going to teach the recipient how she is supposed to show her grandma to close it. And now I can cover up the mechanism behind here with my decorative pieces. I could have inked the edges, but I decided not to. I like the look, I just often forget, and here I don't think I really need it. I like the light colors, and then the darker parts will be the leaves that I cut already. The next stage will be making all the collages to make this come together. Like I said, I was ready to jump into the collage building, but I had to fix my mistake on the back. It was annoying me that you could see the core of the paper there, and on the inside too, actually, but the back was the worst. So I took a piece of the pattern paper and cut it down to size. And scored it here where the 2 colors meet on both sides, because this is going to be on a bend on a card, so it needs to be very flexible. So I'm going to have to glue it on so the dark stripe is on the back, but I don't think it makes much of a difference. It's just a little bit of extra interest on the back side where you're going to write your message anyway. So here I cut the piece like 2 millimeters too big, so I can make it completely flush at both ends. And the scissors not going to do it. I'm going to need a knife for this part to get it really nice and straight. But the backside did get a lot nicer. The hinge is a bit stiff, but I think it's better than how it looked before. And as you see, I don't think it's that much of a problem to have that dark line going down the side. And I knocked the camera here. And I won't notice until a little bit later. But luckily it's not that you can't see what I'm doing, you can just see a bit more of me. And this angle is kind of funny to watch myself at. Like I just mentioned, the back is for writing your message to the recipient, so I also need a white piece for that. And I'm not going to glue it on, actually I'm going to forget that's what the piece is for, and I'm going to chop it up to make something else later, but that's not the point. The point is I'm going to make a white piece. And I'm going to put some adhesive on the back that the recipient can peel off so she can write the message on a table and then glue the piece to the backside. Now let's move on to the last piece of this video.